We need to change the way we're dealing with migration, particularly those seeking asylum. Migration generally is good for the economy and good for society, but there are huge numbers coming in via the asylum seeking process. We want to create a new Department of Domestic Affairs that would deal with migration in its totality in one department, that would also have a border control agency, faster, fairer procedures as part of the European Migration and Asylum Pact. And we need to do that to deal with the pressures on communities across the country, and we would support those communities.
Well, the government's handling, particularly of the international protection system in recent years, has been an abject failure. Sinn Féin wants a system that is compassionate, that is human rights based, and ultimately that's fair, that's efficient, and that's enforced. We also need to end the profiteering and the use of private hotels and commercial buildings, and instead have good quality state-provided temporary accommodation for those seeking international protection. And those centres should be located in areas that have the infrastructure and facilities to meet the needs both of the wider community and those people seeking refugee status.
I've a long record of campaigning to end direct provision. I believe that our state has treated asylum seekers shamefully. We need to completely change our migration policy. We're a small country, but a very, very rich one. We can adequately accommodate those who come here looking for our help. But unfortunately, the government has used it to divide communities, to divert attention from the problems that they themselves have caused. We need a fair migration system where people who want to come and live here and work here should be allowed. When the European Union enlarged, we took in over 100,000 from Eastern Europe. We took in many more asylum seekers, and there was no problem because they had houses and they were allowed to work. We need to get back to allowing people have a decent life in Ireland, no matter where they come from.
The government has dramatically failed to welcome people. People are, look at Crooksling right now. People who are fleeing vulnerable situations, coming to this country, seeking refuge, seeking protection, are being failed by this government. We don't have adequate reception facilities in place. And Labour wants to introduce and implement the measures of the Catherine Day report. We need state-run reception facilities. And I think what's really, really important when it comes to immigration is that we do not pit vulnerable communities against each other. Lots of people have concerns about the lack of investment in the public services in their community. That is government failure. That is not the fault of the person coming to this country seeking protection, seeking refuge. Any Irish person will have family in the four corners of the world who have fled over the years. We, as a country during the famine, fled all over the world, and we have to welcome people in this country. I really do dispel the notion that we have a legal responsibility to do this. I think we have a moral responsibility to do it, and I don't think we should get too hung up on our legal obligations here. I think it's the right thing to do, and we have to welcome people, and we have to invest in public services in our communities across the country.
Immigration is not the reason for any of the problems ordinary people face. It's not the reason for the housing crisis, not reason for the health crisis, is not the reason for the cost of living crisis. In my opinion, immigration has been used as a kind of divide and rule tactic to distract people from the failures of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, to distract them from the fact that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael's friends get rich from these crises, and instead get them to blame other vulnerable people. Ireland is a wealthy country. We can afford to welcome people who are coming to seek asylum here. We should give people the right to work. We should enable them to integrate into our communities and to add to our society.
So obviously the Green Party had the immigration brief in the last government, and we experienced a huge influx of both people seeking international protection and obviously the war in Ukraine, which did put a huge amount of pressure on the system. And I think you're seeing the state struggle with the impact of that. However, the Green Party, and myself particularly, I'm very, very proud of the fact that we have managed to maintain our belief in the provision of services with dignity and respect, and ones that are rooted in human rights. We have a legal and moral obligation to provide people with asylum where they seek it. And this country is at full employment. We definitely need people coming into the country. They run our health system, they run our construction sector, and we should be able to do that in a way that offers people a chance that is fair, that is trustworthy, and that we can all rely on.
SOCDEM's approach to immigration is that we believe people have a right to come here and be treated fairly as they do. Where the government have failed is they've failed to provide for the basic needs of people who come here seeking asylum while their applications are being processed. The SOCDEMs would quadruple the budget for IPAS, but we also enact the Catherine Day report, which called for state reception centres to be built People need to be treated with respect. That is not happening. We're being placed in tents at the foots of mountains.